Anyway, this room was really fun and very good faith for the most part. So thanks for having me. I got to bounce, but I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Lovely having you. Voy a speak to you. I'm always afraid when I receive posts, I'm always thinking like, what issues do I have to deal with now?
Yeah, it's never, it became just like a task. It's never like something good or like a letter from someone. Or
exactly, and all the letters that hit my mailbox are from the government. Yeah, it's like migration or taxes or, I don't know, a court. I got in trouble last week. I didn't know this. So I have an insurance company, and apparently there was a payment I missed from April of last year, over a year. And so they sent me the kind of like, well, I didn't pay, but I didn't know that I didn't pay. So they sent me the bill through the how do you say, the city hall, right? And so the city hall sends you a letter, right? Like saying, yeah, well, you need to come and pay, or we're going to send the police. And so I went there, and I got the bill, and then I spoke with the insurance company, and they were like, yeah, well, you need to pay before, I don't know, January or whatever. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And so I paid some bills. And I paid, I think, like 3 invoices in advance, just like to be sure. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to pay like 3 in advance, because you receive like 5 at a time, and then you just start clicking on them. And so I paid like 3 invoices in advance. And I was like, okay, this has been done, So last week, I am processing right now my permanent residence, and they asked me for like a printout of the record of debts, right, that I have, like my credit score or something. And I went to the town hall, to the city hall to get it. And there was this sheet still open from the insurance. And I'm like, no, I already paid that. Anyway, so I called the insurance company, and I'm like, okay, tell me I'm going to pay it right now on the phone, so that I can make sure that it goes to the right invoice, right? And so they're like, oh, no, sorry, this is not with us anymore. We sent it to the court. I'm like, what? Oh, so wow. I received, they sued me for 250 euros, for 250 francs. They sued me, and so I had to go to the court, and I had to take them proof that I had already paid the bill and whatever, and I'm like, yeah, here it is. And they're like, okay, so I had to pay, so the original bill was 250 francs. With the interest and everything, I had to pay 470 francs. And then the court, because of all the processing, they charged me another 200 francs. So a fucking invoice that it was just a misunderstanding of 250 francs became 670 francs.
Well, this is how you learn.
Oh my God. Yeah, and now I just went to
You took a course. You took a course at how to be a citizen or civil, I don't know, like a resident, legal resident, where you pay your debts on time. And if you don't, we will fuck you up.
I know.
Unconditional surrender. This is what we want.
On top of that, this was embarrassing, right? Because, why do I have to go to court?
What country do you live in, Asa?
In Switzerland.
Okay. Yeah, don't fuck with the Swiss.
Yeah, exactly. And they took me to court for 250. And so now that I went to open the post, and I'm receiving, the letter of the court that I never got it on time, because I found out by coincidence. The letter never even hit my thing, but I found it by coincidence that I had to go to court. But still, I had to pay so much money, 670 francs, just because I didn't pay a 250 invoice that was not even. It was an accident. And the stupid thing is that it's from April of last year. and it's my monthly payment of the health insurance here in Switzerland, and they kept on charging me for May and June and July and August and September and all the way to right now, and they didn't pay that invoice. They didn't allocate any of that money to the old invoice, which would have been the easiest thing, you know. And instead, I just like skipped one payment accidentally, and it became a huge issue. It was ridiculous.
Damn.
But yeah,
That's a lot
I
of
solved my
trauma
legal
for
issues.
200. That's fucking crazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and they can send you even for less than that.
Is it one of those countries where they do, like, if you get a traffic ticket, they charge you based on your income or not?
No.
Okay.
No, but it was accumulating, because I had it there for like a year and I didn't even know. Because they sent me a notice. My insurance company. My health insurance. I skipped 1 month and I didn't know. And so they sent some notice to me, and I went to the city hall and I got the bill, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pay. And so I called the insurance company, and they said, well, anyway, I just. Why are you leaving, Daniel?
I need to listen to something.
Oh, but you will be back.
Yeah, that's why it's soon.
But where are you from, Isa?
Originally from Guatemala.
Okay. I was wondering. I heard a South American twang.
Yeah, my accent is indeed sort of South American or Latin American. But it's a little bit weirder, I think, than just plain Latin American. It's very fucked up, my accent. Like I have picked up stuff from everywhere.
Guatemala.
Yeah, Guatemala. Is Eitan still there?
Eitan, are you there? No, probably not.
Everyone was saying how pleasant it was to speak with you today, even though you are against.
Terrorist?
I mean, like the opposite.
Yeah, it was nice speaking to you guys too. I enjoy conversations where we can like have serious discussions and shit, instead of like
do you go to Amir's room?
I'm banned and suspended from ever going to his room. So he's blocked me.
Why?
Because
What did you do?
he has a narrative and a script he reads off. And if you're a Palestinian and you don't agree with the bullshit he says, or you want to explain him certain things he wouldn't know because he doesn't live in that society, he will flip out and he holds a grudge. I told him I liked Saudi Arabia and that I said very nice things about Saudi Arabia. He didn't like that. And he called me a Zionist and a kafir or some shit. I'm like, and then I trolled him for like a month. But anyways, he kicked me out because I correct him on his bullshit.
Yeah, I think that they say a lot of propaganda, and I know that I might be biased because I am on the Israeli side, but I think that they spill a lot of bullshit there, and they are not thinkers. They just want to fight. They just want to yell. It's just so annoying.
Yeah, they do the most low-hanging fruit conversations, and it's just like the most childish bullshit. And so like to me, when I would go in those rooms when I was allowed to, I got the vibe that if you came in and didn't know anything about this topic, you would leave a hardened Zionist, because the shit he says is so ridiculous and the way he treats people is just retarded. So
yeah, he has never treated me badly, but I don't really go there. I have been there like 2 times or so.
Okay, yeah. If you're a Zionist, you probably love that room. It's just like a joke. It's so stupid.
No, I mean, like, I tell to the guys, to the Jews, like, I don't consider myself a Zionist. Like, Zionism is an ideology, right? And I support Israel, at least in this conflict. I believe that they are on the right side, you know, and I support civilization. I think that there is so much to point fingers at Hamas, you know, and the Gazans themselves. I see them both as victims and perpetrators. But I think I am of the idea that they have become perpetrators not because of their own fault, let's say, but because they have been manipulated and indoctrinated and intoxicated a lot by Hamas. You know, I think that they could have the potential of being good people, but they truly see Israel as their enemy. You know, and they will try to get rid of them for as long as they live. And it's a mentality that unless you have an epiphany, like a miraculous epiphany one day, they're never going to wake up from that realization, and they will never see a way of having a peaceful relationship or whatever. But that doesn't mean that, I mean, like, I don't even know how to take this, how do you say, the label, you know, of Zionism. But I don't stand with Israel no matter what. Like, whenever they do something or will do something that I don't agree with, I will critique it, you know, and I am not, it's not part of my ideology. I don't subscribe to that ideology, you know, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I never understand when people say, like, to any country, I have unconditional support. Like, really? They could, like, do anything and you have no conditions to your support? Like, Allah. But I have a lot of criticism for Hamas too. As a Palestinian, I feel like in a lot of ways their actions do the bidding of against the progress of the Palestinian people, I'll say. But I think also that Netanyahu found it a very convenient place for Hamas to be was Gaza, so he didn't have a problem with them being there until obviously October 7th. But I don't like the way he handled the war either. I thought, and I know actually how surgical Israel can be, and I just I don't like the fact that fucking Gaza looks like an empty desert today. Just
yeah, but you also need to. I mean, if you were the idea and you want to go only after terrorists, right? But then you have terrorists that are identifiable as terrorists, but then there are civilians that are terrorists as well, that are militants, right? But that don't dress as terrorists or don't act as terrorists, right? But they're still there out to kill you. So it's a very difficult situation to fight with Gazans. You know, I think it's one of the most difficult battles that any country has ever had. On top of that, you know these things, that Hamas stores weapons in civilian buildings, you know, like schools and hospitals, and even on their cradles of babies and stuff in their own homes. And the reason why they do that, I mean, is strategic. Like, I understand it, you know, like I would, if I were them, probably I would have had the same train of thought, right? And it's like, okay, we are going, because we know the principles or the morality, or even not, even if you want to say that the IDF is immoral and they just do it because of international pressure. But you know that they have to abide by certain rules, right? And they are not going to bomb a school, or at least will think about it, or at least will think 10 times or strategize 10 times before they actually go for that school.
Hold on.
Right?
As a teacher, school has not been in session since this war began. Like, no one's at school. Let's be clear.
No,
I know, but it's not the point
they're
I'm
using
making.
schools as shelters right now.
I understand, but the
And
building.
so my point is that when you see this from like an Israeli perspective or an IDF perspective, they put you in an impossible position when they have weapons in schools or churches or whatever, and you need to get rid of these weapons, but you're also told that you cannot destroy these buildings. And so it is done all on purpose, right? It's like traps to your enemy, and it's just strategic, right? It's tactics. And so when we talk about the destruction, just very briefly, when we talk about the destruction of Gaza, we need to take these things into consideration. And the last thing is about the deaths. When I was looking at the deaths reported by the UN, which comes from the Gaza or the Hamas or whatever government, and you see the breakdown, you see that are reported, let's say, to make just round numbers, let's say it's 40,000, right? So you see 20,000 are categorized as terrorists, and then 20,000 as civilians. And the 20,000 of civilians appear to be, for example, 80% are women and children, right? And so when you're like, oh my God, when they're killing civilians, they're almost exclusively killing women and children. But then this gets to people, but what they don't tell them is like, the reason why it's 80% women and children is because there are barely any men in the civilian side, because men are usually militants of Hamas. So all these nuances, serve the narrative very well because they are not told to the people, and the people are not used to rationalize these things.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think with that last point about the men, with the fact that I think Gaza is like 2 million people, and it's like half men, half women. And so let's say there's like 1 million men, but even the IDF's intel, as far as the last time I read, was they believe there's still about 40,000 Hamas members. That was the number at the start of the war. So I don't think it's safe to say like most of the men are Hamas or part of Hamas are fighting. I think it's like a very, very small minority, but regardless of whether it's Netanyahu or Israel's breaking any war crimes or not, I just think, just purely off of the aerial photos alone, honestly, I'm not okay with that at all. I thought that, pretty much every build, like there's entire neighborhoods, entire cities that just got destroyed. So I'm not a fan of that. And I feel the same way about Tehran. I don't think that should happen either. Like, I don't think they should go and make it like Gaza, because that's when you start losing support from people, in my eyes. Like, when you start going and taking out like entire neighborhoods or towns or something, that's not good. Even if there's no one there,
it will not happen in Tehran. It's not happening. No, it's not that it's not. I agree. I'm trying to say there is a reason why this is happening in Gaza, and it's part of the warfare that Gaza is doing. That they are using, like the buildings, like. I don't think that you understand how many IEDs, like explosive devices, that are like planted like all over the Gaza Strip. Like almost every second house has some kind of like remote detonation or some touch detonation or whatever. This is why there are also like casualties from the IDF. It's all of them are in those explosives. They also put like explosives in walls, for example. So. Sometimes it's easier to just destroy a house than to just now risk soldiers to look for explosives in walls. And also, those explosives don't necessarily know who touches them. When you see like people without limbs, it's probably not like an airstrike. Like, it could be, but could have stepped on something or picked up something.
No, I hear you, and I know the IDF will do whatever it takes to protect their soldiers, and there's guerrilla warfare going on. I'm just not comfortable at all with the level of destruction in Gaza. I think that's created, and honestly, even if I was pro-Israel, I wouldn't be comfortable with it, because
no one's comfortable with it, but it's just necessary and
long run. Like, I'm telling you, like, real quick, just to land it, Daniel, like, the generations of, like, kids who are growing up watching all this shit, there creates even more animosity and hostility towards Israel. I mean, to levels
that's
where it's very...
You need to understand, Jack, we hear a lot about this image thing, and you need to understand that is not our first priority. And our first priority is safety, security, morality, humanity, before like how it looks. And yes, there's a lot of misinformation. A lot is like an understatement. And you know, with time, people will see and facts will come out and they will understand, you know, or like will not understand, they will understand who to blame. They will understand the context, why this has happened. And looking at Gaza like this, you know, I saw images of Gaza before, like, yes, a lot of like beautiful, iconic places, but it's not us that made it into a terror base. It's not us that put those IEDs. You know, even if we stop today, okay, do you think that anyone could go and save those buildings? Like take all those explosives. Like take out all the explosives.
Well, I've seen cases where
you know how
I'll tell
much
you something, Daniel. I've seen a case
how much
where
explosive is there in Gaza that didn't explode? That just this effort to remove all the explosives, even from like our bombing, like things
But
like
Daniel,
nuts that didn't
you
explode.
literally have to get rid of almost every structure if you're selling me on that mentality, because I've seen examples of the IDF taking over a building or a certain section of a neighborhood, and then when they're done with it, they've cleared all this place to make sure there's no weapons and stuff, right? That when they're done, they blow it up, and I'm like, no, is our idea?
I'll tell you why.
You might tell me, oh, they'll come back and put more explosives
No,
there.
I will tell you why. You can also see it. First of all, there are a lot of corridors that were created in Gaza. It's basically flattening like a route, a big route. So there will be a place for the IDF in the middle of the corridor and enough space to not be attacked. So and I understand that it's like goes in the way of buildings, but this is a war that this is the only way to fight it. And I think that all the blame that people have on Gaza at the end, there is a reason that it's happening, and it's not because of the IDF. For example, if you now buy, like an example, build an illegal building, like without permission, yada, 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 and then comes the city and destroys it. And like, oh my God, they're destroying my home. Like, there is context. And the fact that you build illegally, or the fact that you created like 350 kilometers of tunnels, 140 kilometer stretch of strip with entrances to homes and mosques, that is the reason. And when you put IEDs everywhere, you know, now for example, the tunnel under the European hospital, in order not to destroy the hospital, the IDF had to fill the entire thing with concrete, the entire tunnel, which is like, I don't know how many tons of liters or whatever. But we cannot fill the entire Gaza with concrete. And also, I don't think the population would want, like, if you would fill the entire tunnels with concrete, you cannot kill your future, like, growth there. They destroyed Gaza. You need to, like, really, like, you guys, the plural, you need to blame the Hamas or the Palestinians or the world even.
I criticize
that whenever we say something, because it's coming from Israel, so it's propaganda, and no, Hamas are not using, like, you know, if you would go with me to a room and I would say that Hamas is using human shells, they would debate with me. No, show me proof, show me evidence, like as if it's not gazillion. No, I don't care about those idiots.
It's not that, it's just, you get, like, Hamas does in a way do that, but you guys do it to the Palestinians too. And in my view on
do what? Do tunnels? We do tunnels for them?
No, human shields. But my critique, my issue. Wait, I'll get into it in a second. I'll show you in a second. But
the guy with the collar?
Wait,
the guy with the collar?
Hold on.
Just a second. What I'm saying is, fuck, man. I'm not holding you to the standards that I'm holding Hamas to, which I agree with you, does stupid ass shit, and I have my criticism. But the shit I've seen the IDF do in the way that they've carried out this war, there is a better way, and it's some of the shit I've seen is despicable, man. Like, genuinely despicable.
Without context.
I'm not just one of those people who retweets and keeps scrolling.
No, like if you're talking about a soldier, if you're talking about a soldier that blew up a building, that is not like a soldier doing whatever they want. You know what a big operation it is to blow up a building, and how many different units are involved and how many approvals it needs to go. And then he presented on TikTok he's enjoying and blowing up a building. It doesn't work like this. The despicable thing that the stupid soldiers do is those stupid things that they do with the lingerie, okay? That they take the lingerie and they'll do those photos. Not professional, not despicable, whatever you want to say. But the blowing up a building, you're just missing out the context. And I don't have the context, but I just know that it's not like a guy decides to blow up a building, take his gun and shoot the building.
I'm just saying, Daniel, the whole thing, I'm sure you could justify everything you guys did. But just because you can justify something that's horrible, I don't think you should do it. Because I don't care what you say. I think reputation does matter and action does matter. And that's why people even come online and talk about this stuff. They want to,
no, that is not true.
Preserve some image or help people understand certain things. But wait, one sec. But my issue is that we're watching horrible things being done, and we all know there's a better way. And the level of brutality is the issue here. You have to understand, we're looking at.
Listen, I know what you're looking at. You are being fed this. There's a reason. There's a reason why you are overwhelmed with those images, dude. I know all this.
I gotta be able to speak, man. I just want to make my point, and then you can respond. But I'm saying that you're looking at this from the perspective of an Israeli, and I try to look at this in your perspective, my perspective, the American perspective, who's not any beef in this fight, but just watching. And I can tell you, the way that it's conducted makes it look like this brutal superpower is just relentlessly brutalizing 2 million people in Gaza, which is a 20-mile blockade of strip of land. That's the.
I know. Listen, dude, believe me, I'm more aware than you about the image that is being presented and the skewed image that is usually lacking context, and it's meant to evoke emotion. This is the war that Hamas is fighting with their propaganda arms, huge propaganda arms like Al Jazeera and others. And Al Jazeera would say something, and then groups like Amnesty and HRW or the Albanese from the UN will jump on it, will echo it, and it becomes facts, which is complete nonsense. You've seen horrible things. This is the first war that is being fed to you, but it's not the only war that is happening. Okay? You can also see compare it to other wars and the reactions of people, and you will see that a lot of it is manufactured in order to evoke emotion. So no, image do not matter as much as facts on the ground. And I will tell you also, image is not more important than actually being alive. And you say it's not a good thing. Compared to what? What is the alternative? Because the alternative for us is them doing exactly what they have been working out to do from all over. What the fuck do you think Hezbollah is? And Hamas and the Houthis with their slogan, death to America, death to Israel, the curse on the Jews. Iran saying, we'll wipe for, dude, read the fucking room. We are not hallucinating. They're saying it, and if you speak Arabic, you can hear it even in the original language, as they say. Go and stab a Jew. We are fighting an existential threat here. Not more than that. This Hamas and PIJ and all those said that they will do this genocide on 7th of October again and again and again and again and again and again. Yeah, they provoked it in order to get those images, in order to harm Israel. They knew exactly what they were doing. This is why they are sacrificing the people. I didn't say, it's not, no, you fell for it. You fell for it because you, instead of saying Israel did it because they are just, it's justified, it's moral, it's humane, it's legal to go and get your houses and do it. No, hold on, let me finish. You fell for it that you are blaming Israel. You are the useful idiot, not us. We are doing the thing. Their threat, they did it, they still.
I didn't call you.
I didn't call you an idiot. Useful idiot is a general term that says that you are used without knowing.
Yeah,
Okay?
it's a term
You are
used by Yuri Bezmenov.
manipulated with
You
emotions.
still call me an idiot, but I'm just saying.
No, but it's just
Okay,
it's
my
not
God.
calling you an
Listen,
idiot.
you're just
Don't be
like-
so sensitive. It's just like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
way
I'm
of
not being
saying that.
sensitive.
Google it. Google it. I didn't call you an idiot.
Yeah,
I'm saying that you fell for it, not us. The trick that Hamas said to exploit people with the humanitarian sentiment, you fell for it, my friend.
It's not
You are the one here blaming us. You are here blaming us, and blaming us is basically exactly what they wanted, to vilify us, to demonize us, to ostracize us, and it's good for the cause. Let's be honest, all those deaths are good for the Palestinian cause, because Israel bad, big Israel bad, but it's not true. And you know what? The world actually can see it in Iran, and how accurate and how delicate, when it's not the same, when they're not using terror tunnels, when the population is, well, nowadays, like all this commotion, the population is uprising against the regime, not against us. In Gaza, it's not the same.
That's
You
not
need to
true.
acknowledge the reality of
That's not
what
true.
is happening in Gaza in the last 18 years, at least. This indoctrination.
Man, because I want to respond to it.
I finished.
So, number one, Hamas, I mean, if you want to say, the population in Iran versus the population in Gaza, Iran hates their regime, and they've shown us this. Population in Gaza has had a lot of different protests against Hamas for different reasons. And there's probably been more opposition there in real ways than there has been in Iran. But aside from that, doesn't mean they like Israel or think Israel's going to save it from Hamas. And I forgot what the fuck you even saying.
I wasn't paying
The
attention
part
either.
where I remember now. The part where you said I fell for it. Hamas didn't want you to necessarily. They didn't want their propaganda is, like you said, more misinformation shit, right? What you fell for, what Israel fell for, was they wanted Israel to crash out, I guess, right? They wanted Israel to act emotionally rather than strategically, and less surgical and less clever. Because we've seen what Israel can do when it wants to be the IDF, the Mossad.
Hold on
I mean,
there.
the most clever operations I've ever seen.
In what case have you seen
just let me
Israel
land it,
acting
please.
emotionally? It's
didn't
just to expand the point you just made.
I'm trying to just keep it to the thing real quick. I'll land shortly. I'm not going to talk long. But I've seen how clever they can be.
If you want to talk about emotional, you need to put emotion in your voice.
What? Oh, because I'm monotone. No, just
Come
let
on,
me land
that's a
quickly.
stupid
I'm not going to talk.
comment.
Basically, I've seen how clever and surgical and impressive their capabilities are, and what they can do, and how they can operate. And you can't convince me what you guys did in Gaza was any of that. And I think they succeeded in making you, kind of press the red button, not just on Hamas or all of Gaza, but on the proxies too, which some of it ended up
responded, we would have
pretty low, man. Listen, you guys got to consider, I'm one person with my view on
No,
this.
but
Exactly.
I'm not on that. You're saying a lot of things.
whichever way we would have responded.
I'm not
You said a
getting
lot
that.
of things too, Daniel. You said a
You
lot of
got the
things.
dumbest profiles, bro. I'm gonna keep kicking you until you fucking have like some kind of profile that works.
Whichever way we would
I
have
don't know why you
responded to
choose
Gaza,
these
we would have
horribly
done the
ugly
same.
fucking
Seriously.
photos. Do
If we'd not done it
something
surgically, we would
useful.
have been questioned. If we'd done it surgically, we would have been questioned. If we'd done it emotionally, we would have been questioned. Whatever we would have done, we would have been questioned. So it makes no difference.
But this is why Daniel was telling you, saying that it's not the same with Iran, and this is the reason also why I was telling you why it has been so difficult with Gaza. And I think that you agree with that view. And yes, we might agree that it's horrible to see Gaza destroyed and that it's gonna take a toll, emotional toll, whatever, on the people. But this is gonna reconstruct at some point. I know it's not like the perfect answer, but in the end, Hamas is a very difficult target to hit, dude. And I know that you can appreciate that.
Again, also I saw what they did to Hezbollah and how they took those guys out. Like, although I do criticize that attack as a terrorist attack,
Nazis are
it
always hard to
was a lot better than just going and bombing a whole bunch of whatever buildings.
Nazis,
But it was never.
Hold on. I'm trying to reply to him. Oh, hold on, Pikachu. The operation that we now see has been in the making for like 20 years. Okay, that we see in Iran. The planning was they had a date, and then it was pushed, and there were meetings. It's nothing compared to a genocidal surprise attack on 7th of October. Okay. Second, the information that we have in Iran is significant, also because we are there for 2 decades, and because there are many people there inside that are helping us. Not the same in Gaza. Okay, the people operation also, it's something that was prepared in advance for this day. Okay, and it's just one thing that we were able to pull off that with the Mossad. The rest was with military force. Third is that when we target the people in Iran, they were in their homes, in buildings, like normal people, or like in their military bases, or in their like government buildings, not hiding underneath in tunnels. They fucking wear uniforms. We see their like airports. We see their like bases. So if you want to make a comparison for yourself, you cannot just take like one field in a huge table and say, okay, here they were precise, here they were not, so they can do it. For yourself, you need to put like more things into this equation. Like context matter. And you cannot taking things out of context. My friend, you are just manipulating yourself. You're proving yourself a point when you are saying, I'm just ignoring everything else and I'm focusing only on this, and this enough proves to me something. You cannot do this.
You gotta understand, like, the whole, like you said, it's different, right? And I agree, Iran and Gaza are different, but in some cases, Hezbollah and Gaza are similar. You say, they're not wearing military uniforms in Gaza. Hezbollah's not doing that, and they're hiding weapons in houses. Hezbollah's also doing that, and so is Hamas. And they're hiding in tunnels. Hezbollah's doing that. There's just some. I just know like that the way Israeli security intelligence and how thorough it is that if you wanted to pull off an extremely surgical operation to cut the heads off of Hamas and do this, that, and the other in Gaza, you would have been able to do it. And they probably had similar clandestine operations to the Patriot attack on Hamas members, right?
So you think we just chose not to use it for like 18 months, looking for Sinwar, by food? We just chose not to do this.
There are,
and also if you take the heads of the Hamas, if you take the heads of the Hamas, it doesn't topple the organization. It doesn't they would just replace it with another one. It's really not the same. And also with Lebanon and the tunnels, it's not the same infrastructure as in Gaza. Like the complete city has this underground Gaza underground. It's not the same when they're kind of carving in a mountain and hiding there. And yes, in Lebanon also some houses were destroyed.
But also you need to take into context every single situation, right? It's on a one-on-one basis. I get what you're saying, Jack, and I think that you're trying to make the case of like, okay, if Israel is so surgical and they have proven that they're so surgical, why weren't they able to make the same thing in Gaza? And I get your point, but you also are missing context here because so the thing with Gaza, even though it was like in the making for a lot of years, the whole temperature, heating was for a lot of years and decades, and the conflict is for decades. This war started on the 7th of October. And in this case, in the case of Gaza, I mean, when you compare it to Iran has been 20 years in the making, the operation. In Hezbollah, it was 9 years in the making. In Gaza was reactionary. So Gaza, Palestinians and Hamas broke into Israel, took the lives of like 1,500 people, took like what 400, 500 hostages. There is no in the making and planning. Everything is more emergency, right? I mean, like your ability to actually plan for something is non-existent, not even limited. It's just non-existent. So you need to act with what you have. And what they had in that moment was exactly that. You know, it's like, okay, where are the Hamas headquarters? Who are the Hamas people, the militants? Let's get our hostages back. Let's bring down Hamas. Let's restore control in Israel. So it was a lot to deal with in a very short time. Now, you're saying Israel has not been surgical in Hamas. If you, let's try to, you know, my niece is currently learning math, and I am remembering a lot of things now. So, for example, when you do a division, they make her do something that it's called like the proof. So you do the division, and then you have to prove that it's right by making the multiplication. So let's try to prove the point that they are not being surgical by bringing the opposite, doing the opposite. So if they were not surgical, don't you think that the war would have already been over, I don't know, in 2 months? Why do you think that it has taken them 2 whole years, 2.5 years of dragging this shit to get the hostages back, to bring Hamas down? Do you think it's because they are incompetent? I don't think the IDF is incompetent. Or do you think it's because they actually want to do as little harm as they can, and they are actually being surgical?
I think that they want their hostages back, and they want to make sure Hamas won't exist in the way that it did before October 7th. And also, they probably want to eventually take some of the land in Gaza, maybe a quarter of it in the north, for what they call security purposes. I don't think they have a plan for the day after, and I don't agree it was surgical. I'm just going. I'm probably not going to convince you, so we can just agree to disagree.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not trying to convince you. I just want you to understand the way that we see things. You don't have to agree. You just have to say, okay, I understand where you're coming from. In the same way, when I talk to flat earthers, I'm not looking to be convinced, but I want to understand where they're coming from and why do they believe what they believe. And this is what we're trying to explain to you.
Yeah,
to see
I'm
that
trying
you
to
have
gain
clarity
your
on where
understanding as well. Also, but I wanted to bring up, like you said, they had